Welcome back to Ordinary People and Extraordinary Lives, and I'm here with Tim S. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm actually really good today, thanks, John.
And hot on the heels of your unbelievably
Spit it
successful
out.
podcast with me last week, we are going to go and dive deep on a topic you have suggested for me called Life After COVID-19, The Hero's Journey.
Yeah, so here we are, back again. That was great, the podcast last week, and actually that was my first ever podcast, so thanks, John, for doing that for me or with me, and it's nice to come back.
They've been raving about you in the comments section.
I know. Well, I saw one nice comment saying, a guy was saying something like, great talk, clever guy. So, I mean, yeah, obviously, I prepaid him using a load of food parcels round to his extended
It
family.
wasn't me on another account, promise.
No, of course not. So, yeah, I mean, I think everyone is thinking, trying to think, not everyone, some people are thinking ahead of what's going on at the moment, which is kind of ridiculous because, you know, one thing has become very clear to me since we last spoke, which is only a week ago, in this kind of setting, is that I have had to break down my life into, you know, sections, days, single days, and then I break up the day and I try and get through my day with my usual gusto. I just wanted to say that word. I like that word.
It's a good word.
It is, and that's what I do. I mean, maybe I've got ADHD as well as other things going on, but I have to organize my head, and then I have to organize my day, and then I get on with my day. But the thing is about this time now, which is incredibly difficult for millions and millions of people, and I consider myself to be extremely blessed and lucky to be in the living situation I'm in. I've got my art studio in the garden where I do all sorts of spiritual things, mindfulness. I've just started doing my art again. I'm going to be podcasting from there, but the internet won't hack it at the moment. So yeah, I mean, is my life a hero's journey? This is the question. And laugh you might. Yeah, I'm laughing. Just
Do
saying
heroes stay at home and get paid by the government to stay at home? Is that what the hero's journey is?
Why not?
Okay.
Okay. The whole thing, the whole crux of that statement, or that kind of reflective question to myself, is my life a hero's journey? Then, okay, in order to answer that, I have to define to myself what a hero is and what I believe that means. What qualities does a hero have? Do I have those qualities? And then the way that I like to think about all of these questions is not in a standard kind of modeled way. So we discussed what we might talk about earlier, and
Shall I
what I
tell you what
wanted
the dictionary definition of a hero is?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. A hero is someone who puts others before himself or herself. A hero has good moral ethics and is someone who does things for the sake of being good, not just as a means to an end or a reward for good deeds, but it is someone who does good for the sake of doing good. It's a person who is admired for their courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Yeah.
Well,
Comes from the Greek, heros.
there you go. I thought it would be. So I've already got a problem with that if it comes from the Greek. I like what George Orwell says about written and spoken English in some of his essays. So I can't remember the one. It's English, and there's something to do with English language. And he just says, interestingly, as Stephen King says in his book called On Writing, which is a fantastic book, and he just describes how he writes a book and how to write a book, how to write a story. What Orwell says is, if you're an English writer, use Anglo-Saxon as your base. So don't use Latin. Don't use long
Descriptive
words.
words.
Right, but
Adjectives. Don't use adjectives.
no. And then he says, invent your own metaphors. Invent your own metaphors. And I think if you can do that and you're good at it, then you're probably going to be a really good writer. What Stephen King says, which really is, I think, the best thing, he says, do not exclude anyone from your story. So again, don't use over highfalutin, overly long words, because why? What's the point, And then the way I think about that is the way I think about music. My favorite pieces of music, it doesn't matter what genre they are the ones that are the simplest pieces. Probably the ones with the least going on in them, but the simple melody, simple chords, beautiful simple words. I think of an example, Imagine by John Lennon, or God Only Knows, the Beach Boys, or I can't think of anything right now, but there
Think
are
of one more.
millions. And the Wind Cries Mary, Jimi Hendrix.
All three quite sort of spiritual songs in their own different ways.
Yeah,
One of them mentions God. One of them is the absence of God, but a heaven that we can create on earth. And the other is more the ephemeral, if that's the right kind of word, ethereal version of God.
Ethereal, it's good. Yeah.
The Wind Cries Mary.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Beautiful song, beautiful guy. I mean, another tortured genius. They all were. And I mean, you don't have to be a tortured genius, but it seems to help. I have been a tortured genius in the past, and now I'm just a genius. I'm not tortured anymore.
It finally came to fruition.
But what in, boy? You'll need to elaborate. Oh, well, can I get back to you on that? I'm working on it.
So hero's journey. Actually, first of all, describe what is the hero's journey?
Okay, so what I kind of thought I'd talk about. You have to remember that I'm the world's least read person. So all of
You?
Yeah, I think so. I've probably read about 18 and a half books in my
I thought you were
entire
going to say 3 books or something. Something terrible.
18 is not bad, is it?
What, of Mice and Men? Or basically all the ones you meant to read at school?
Yeah, and a few more.
What's your favourite book?
Oh, God. So last summer, very late, at the age of 55, I read 1984.
Oh, wow.
And I had not read it, and I read it. I'll tell you why I read it. I was on holiday in Cornwall with my wife, and it was the pre-Brexit discussion, if you like, polite word, discussion. And I read that book because I wanted to know what was going on now. And it seems silly or childish to make that kind of statement, but I am in a period, or I was in a period before the COVID virus, of not reading or watching any news again, none whatsoever. And I've been through this twice now in the last 18 years. So the first time I did it, I just got sick and tired of BBC reportage, and I thought, okay, so let's just not watch or read any news for I managed 2.5 years, and it was amazing. My mood gradually got better because the whole thing for me, there's a couple of really important realizations I've had about why I'm here. Why am I here? Yeah, to do a hero's journey. That's why I'm here. Actually, now you've read out the definition, and I think it's why we're all here, and I think it's what everyone thinks they're doing. Most people I meet are doing their own version of what anyone. I mean, the lady at the till in Marks and Spencer's in Brixton, where I was earlier, the guy collecting the dustbins, the the bloke who's the Amazon delivery guy, everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
And they're doing it silently and with some humility. And I think therein lies the key to the lock that hasn't been opened yet, which is, what are we going to do after the virus? And
Yeah.
we are now at a point where we've got the opportunity to reshape what's happening on this planet. And by reshape, I'd say we have the opportunity, the collective we. All of those heroes doing their hero's journey. It's just finding a way of bringing people together to, I'm not going to say trash the system, because there are some good things about capitalism, but it's not working for everyone.
What would suffer if we did trash the system? First of all, if the system were to be trashed, what do you think would be the negative fallout of that? No, we can look at the positive after.
Well, okay, so I think what happens, this is one of the things, wow, that was my phone. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about. So in the universe, you know, which I think about a lot. I mean, the kind of spiritual structure I have in my head is based around some knowledge of physics and astronomy and things like that, and empirical measurements. You know, not necessarily a religious standpoint. So, lost my train of thought now. What was the question again?
I said if you're talking about trashing the system as being a kind of good thing,
Oh yeah.
but you did say there would also be a kind of negative to it as well. And I was going to ask you, because most people look at it in a kind of a utopian way. It's trashing the system. We can start again, man. But there's also going to be a negative fallout. I mean, what would that be? I suppose it would be the demolishing of an infrastructure of some kind.
Well, actually, it would be the demolishing of everything, and what happens with human beings is that we just get into conflict, and then there's war, and there's a lot of.
Isn't that just about the only way it can happen then?
Well, I would say yes. I'm sitting here, and somewhere in this podcast, we're going to have a quick taste of my daughter's chocolate and banana muffin, which is, as you see, I've only got half. I got offered half. They're so mean. There was only 2 left. I've already had one. Fucking hell. Anyway, it's really nice. Yeah, what happens in the universe? What's happening in my stomach right now? I've just eaten my meal, which was very nice, roast chicken and chestnuts and stuff. So in my stomach, there is Armageddon is happening with bacteria that live in my gut, the bacteria that I've just eaten on the food. I mean, this is relevant, right, with the virus that's going around at the moment. And it just happens all day long, 24 hours a day, all around my body. My immune system is fighting off invaders by the million. So that's happening in my body. We can't see it, we can't feel it. Okay, yeah, you get ill, you get a bug or something, then you feel it. Out there in the universe, all of the atoms and ingredients that make you and I, if you believe the scientific empirical kind of version of events, all of the carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, these elements were created when stars went supernova, so billions of years ago, and the ingredients were scattered out across the universe, and then it took another few billion years for them to get together and for gravity to have its effect, and stuff to be drawn together, and eventually planets dragged together and solar systems formed, and then life to evolve. And for all of that to have happened, it has taken a lot of destructive force. A lot of stuff was destroyed. And I think the one thing I've figured out about, the car crash moments in my life and the destructive events always give birth to something new afterwards. The forest is destroyed by fire and then new shoots appear. And I know it's a terrible cliche, but cliches are there for a reason, that they are generally true and that they have lasted through the ages and they become cliches. So to smash the system or dismantle it, yeah, there are there are many, many ways of doing it. In an infinite universe, there are infinite ways of doing it. And in an infinite universe, there are infinite systems, apparently. But we're human, so we can't think infinitely. We're limited by our incredibly complex brain. Um, but I think, and I think everyone I speak to right now who's stuck at home and might be podcasting, or we're doing Zoom meetings and stuff like that, everyone I speak to is kind of relieved in a way, if they're not ill or if they're not out on the street, that this has happened, that there's some kind of massive breather. There's a breathing space, and something has to happen that is, I think, that is good. You
Yeah,
know,
I went out to the park today. I've noticed it anyway in the last few days, where the air is noticeably fresher. It's
mm,
purer. I don't know if the birds are singing a little bit louder, but I can hear them,
yeah,
and they seem to be quite chipper and chirpy. And trees look, I don't know, maybe I'm just noticing nature a little bit more. Like trees seem more alive, and everything seems to be on slow mode, or even on pause. Yeah, it's kind of strange, but I'm enjoying it. There seems to be less aggression
yeah.
in people. And what's there to be aggressive about, really? Maybe if you're driving, but
The
there isn't
driving,
that
yeah.
much to be aggressive about. There's no
That's
lack
interesting.
of competition, a lack of competition, or survival of the fittest.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I'm
they,
better
okay.
than you. Well, I
I
want what you've
agree.
got.
Hey,
That kind of I'm better than you. I want what you've got. You're going to give me what you've got.
yeah, it's gone.
I'm gonna conquer that. There's the kind of, is it really that important? Maybe it's a time for us just to mediate and talk.
Well, this is what I was getting at, I think. Yeah, you can. The natural order, it would seem, in the universe is to, in order to create, that you have to destroy first, and maybe that's just the way it is, and maybe, you know, war on this planet is an expression of that, at a human scale. And I do think that human beings somehow are, you know, I said before, I'm not religious, but created in His image. I think it says in the Bible. You know, I think human beings are a tiny, compressed, um, beautiful version of the entire universe, all squashed into one being. You know, we're here, we are in and of the universe, and now we're at a kind of state of evolution where we're able to, under lockdown, have podcasts
It's
and talk
unbelievable,
about.
actually, that I can
Yeah,
speak. I know we say it time and time again, but to be able to speak to you live, real time, to record it seamlessly, almost effortlessly, and then upload it to the internet so others can view it, to have every educational kind of resource at our disposal. You can learn anything from anybody. The masters have uploaded their work. You can literally, like, stream any song that was ever written at any time in human history, more or less, and get you can learn the words. There's lyric. There's, I mean, it's it's a library better than any that you could ever imagine, and we're still ungrateful.
speak for yourself, young man. I have gratitude. Remember, gratitude is a verb. You have to do it.
Actually, do you know what? Actually, let's bring it back to the hero's journey, because do you know what the 12 stages of the hero's journey are? I'm going to tell you them.
Interesting
Okay,
that
the
there are
first is
12
the
stages.
there are 12 stages. There is the ordinary world. This is where the hero exists before his present story begins, oblivious of the adventures to come. It is his safe place, his everyday life, when we learn crucial details about our hero, his true nature, capabilities, and outlook on life. This anchors the hero as a human, just like you and me. It makes it easier for us to identify with him, and hence later empathize with his plight. Apparently, the hero's journey is what most movie scripts are based on. The second step is the
Yeah.
call to adventure. The hero's adventure begins when he receives a call to action, such as a direct threat to his safety, his family, or his way of life, or to the peace of the community in which he lives. It may not be as dramatic as a gunshot, but simply a phone call or conversation. But whatever the call is, However it manifests itself, it ultimately disrupts the comfort of the hero's ordinary world and presents a challenge or quest that must be undertaken. So let's stop there. A call to adventure and the ordinary world. How does that reflect on your life in this moment right now?
Well, yeah, I'm excited to hear the other stages.
Let's see if we can take them one
So
by
yeah,
one.
I mean that.
The ordinary
Well, let's
world,
do
the
the
safe
okay.
place.
Let's do them in. Hey, let's do them in pairs. So I think the ordinary world. Yeah, step one is the first part of life. If you're lucky enough to be born into a kind of regular family setup, which I was, you know, I had some weird kind of dreams and wants and needs, and wanted probably too much as a child. I didn't feel very comfortable as a child. But inside me, there was something that was saying that I would have to be, yeah, I would eventually have a call to be in some kind of adventure. And I did, you know, but there's a calling, and then there's a path that you're walking, and it's I can't figure out what is God given. I'm
Well,
going to use
let's just bring it to now, right? We
yeah.
know our pasts, we learn from our past, but we're talking this present moment, right here, right now. What is your ordinary world, Tim?
My ordinary world has become extraordinary, extraordinary life. Very recently, actually, as a result of the lockdown, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, I've managed to finally drag my art space together, and it's now functioning, and I'm using it. And that's my latest call to adventure, is to go on a proper journey with myself, with discipline, with rigor, and just do the thing that I've been telling myself that I really want to do for the last 35 years since I left art
Interesting.
school.
So this is so you could say this is a now or a present moment that's actually, it has a timeline and it stretches right the way back, say 35 years. So you're talking like when you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
This is not a new call to adventure. In fact, it's one that's actually it's pegged to different a timeline that stretches all the way back, probably even before you're 23. But you're saying, what was it about that age, or 23, 20, 21? You would have been 21 53 years ago.
53 years ago, cheeky bastard. I'm 50. I'm 56. Yeah, I was
No,
21.
how many years ago did you say?
35 years ago.
35 years ago. So that would make you 18.
No.
No. Why?
19.
Okay, 19. So the call to adventure started at age 19. Let's go back to age 19, Tim. What is that call to adventure? What does it sound like? Can you word it for us?
It sounds like I still don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I really enjoy doing art, and I enjoy being creative, and I was getting involved in theatre. I was making music. I was already playing drums. I was in a band in Northampton. And in between feeling excruciatingly uncomfortable and like I didn't belong anywhere, and I'd look in the mirror and think, God, you ugly bastard, you're never going to stand a chance with anyone, which is about as far from the truth as you can get. I was kind of piecing together, I was trying to piece myself together, and it was hard work, but the places that I got freedom from myself and from the dialogue in my head was when I was either playing music or
When you
doing art.
answered the call.
Yeah, right. I answered the call. And so
Even if
this,
that had been a way that may have had negative, quote unquote, results, it was still you honoring your call to adventure.
yeah, I think so. And then, see, it was interesting. I was listening to your solo podcast that you put out a couple of nights ago, where you were quoting a guy, a book, I can't remember which one. And he talks about this, the dream, the inner you know, the innate gift that we all have, and it's different for all of us. And I think that we probably stumble upon it when we're children or in adolescence, and then life kicks in, and the system, the one we're talking about, which demands that we join the treadmill of work, and the dream is put on the back burner, and it's pushed right down inside us. And what I've been able to do is reignite that for myself. And it's been
Mhm.
really, really hard, and it's been a long slog, but I'm here now.
Okay, so that gives us an idea of a little bit of background that this call to adventure has actually been there for a really long time. But now, during this COVID-19 break from what we are doing every day, the ordinary world, you have uh, begun to hear again that call to adventure. The next step. Oh, by the way, if your call to adventure could be given a title, what would it be? Just let it
Well,
go. If you did know what it would be, if you don't know how to word it, but even if you give me something,
art wins always.
art wins always. So the next step on the hero's journey is the refusal of the call. It says here, although the hero may be eager to accept the quest, at this stage he will have fears that need overcoming, second thoughts, or even deep personal doubts as to whether or not he is up to the challenge. When this happens, the hero will refuse the call and as a result may suffer somehow. The problem he faces may seem too much to handle, and the comfort of home far more attractive than the perilous road ahead. This would also be our own response, and once again helps us bond further with the reluctant hero. So, the refusal of the call. Has there been part of you that is just like, oh,
Yeah,
having, yeah, go on.
yeah. Well, yeah. So when I came to London in 1988, I was playing in an indie band, and we had a very small record deal with a label, um, with a Manchester label, and they let us go. And our singer managed to sort out another deal with a London label, so we just got in a van one day from our squat in Moss Side in Manchester, drove to London, and then we were living in London. I lived in a squat in Mile End for one night, and then I moved in with the Gay Bikers on Acid in Tooting, a real name, a real band, friends of ours. And then the London calling chapter started. But while that was all going on, it was a bit chaotic, and we were playing gigs, and we put out some more vinyl. God, sorry, didn't mute it. And you know, life was happening. I met my lovely wife, Natalie, about 32 years ago in a couple of weeks, which is pretty incredible. Sorry, I'm just trying to mute my phone. And so, yeah, the refusal of the call.
How is that showing up in your life right now? The refusal of the call.
Ah,
It can be an ongoing thing. I'm not, yeah, there's always a pushback to,
well, your refusal is that you have to do all of this after work, don't you? We were talking about this earlier, and this is your passion, and you're very good at it. And I know that you're good at other things, creative things we're talking about. So it's the same. It's the procrastination and the insistence that, you know, being on the treadmill and putting bread and butter on the table is the priority. And what this whole discussion really should be about, and is about, is that if we get the other side of this virus, then why does that still have to be the prevailing way?
well,
Because it doesn't.
yeah, without wishing going down a cul-de-sac or turning off the road that we're on at the moment, I will say that this is why I'm doing this. Not because I want to be famous, not because I want this, that, the other. It's for moments like this where we've all of a sudden hit something. We've
Yeah,
hit something,
we've
and
hit
it's
gold.
we've hit truth. We've hit the truth. And do you know the funny thing was, just before this started, I wanted to. I've been hanging different things in the background or trying to get a green screen, ordering that all rubbish. And I just thought before the podcast, do you know what? I want a white background because I want it to go down truth, no bullshit, no lies. It's better to face the truth. It's better to have the truth. It's the most valuable. It's the most beautiful thing, actually, the truth.
It is.
And
Yeah.
um, I'm really grateful that you're even having the courage and bravery to give us these. It can be quite a sensitive, some sensitive subjects can be brought up, but so the refusal of the call right now, how is it showing up?
Um, so today, Saturday, I am back at work. I mean, I think I had the virus and I had to, well, I was quite ill for 12 days, but not hospital. And then I had to isolate at home for 2 weeks. So I've
I
gone
just want
back
to
to my,
ask any viewers now, can you now put on what are face masks, please? Otherwise, you're going to catch it from Tim.
yeah, wear your face mask, kids. Even though it's not proven to actually help, wear your face masks. I mean, I don't know. The thing is, it's so new that the research is still being done. And of course, we need to ignore pretty much every single politician on the planet and just listen to the scientists. But then science becomes an opinion as well, as you are well aware.
Science has
So,
become political.
yeah,
So the
well, it gets
refusal of the
huge.
call, have you been derailed on this art
I
call to
still,
adventure?
today's Saturday, and I thought, right, I'm going to go out and carry on with the portrait that I'm working on, and then proceeded to not do that. I went, my turn to go shopping, which is a bit of a thing, as you know, you have to queue up. And see, this is what, going back to the thing, there's no competition or there's no challenges like that. You
Can I
just have to
ask you, can I tell you exactly why you have not been able to get beyond the refusal of the call?
You're going to
Because
tell me.
I'm going to tell you, because
Okay.
step 4 is meeting the mentor.
Oh.
At this crucial turning point where the hero desperately needs guidance, because you're actually searching for guidance, he meets a mentor figure who gives him something he needs. It could be an object of great importance, insight into the dilemma he faces, wise advice, practical training, or even self-confidence. Whatever the mentor provides the hero with, it serves to dispel his doubts and fears and gives him the strength and courage to begin his quest.
You know, that's a really insightful thing. So I just, when you were reading that out, and I'm writing these down, not all of the definition, but number 4, meeting the mentor. When I was doing my art degree at Sunderland Polytechnic, of all places, wasn't where I chose to go, but I ended up going there. And it was a fantastic course. It was an amazing town. I thought I was in a foreign country. I thought I'd been dumped somewhere. I couldn't understand what people were saying. Oh man, how's it going? Fancy a bit scran? Sorry? Oh yeah. Seriously. And they all were calling me a Cockney. I'm not, I'm from Northampton. Anyway, so in the end of the first year, I met my first mentor. And this was a mature student, a guy called Charlie Biggs, who was an amazing photographer. And that guy had a life. He started Virgin Records with Richard Branson. I know he won't mind me talking about this. They ran the record shop on Oxford Street, and he ended up being head of A&R for Virgin Records. He signed Captain Beefheart to Virgin Records, and I used to go and stay in his flat in South Shields at the weekend, and we would yeah, he had, I don't know, 10,000 albums, and he would play me incredible music and tell me about his life. You know, he ran away to the Merchant Navy, he'd done lots of things, and then he he left Virgin because he wanted to move back to the Northeast where he's from. And then he became a cab driver and a photographer, and he ended up having a lot of his rides were prostitutes, local prostitutes, and he asked them very nicely and politely if he could photograph them in ways that they wanted to be photographed, which he did. And then he got this amazing exhibition which toured around the country called Brass, of these incredible images of prostitutes, you know, wearing all the stuff in their own kitchen or in their front room with a bunch of flowers, or however they wanted to portray themselves. So he was doing the photography course, and
Did
we
he
got
have a
talking.
mentor?
Well, he must have had. Maybe it was Richard Branson initially. Maybe it was Captain Beefheart. They became friendly. He probably had a few, but he's he's a very sort of strong personality still. I spoke to him a week ago. The guy's 70, 75 now, I think. And so I definitely learned how to do photography from him. Darkroom technique, cameras, large format cameras, all of this stuff. And we talked about music, and we talked about life, and he was a
Have you
rock.
talked to him about your art?
About my art now, I mentioned that I've started to do it, and I can't remember what he said. About fucking time, man.
Do you
Something
respect
like,
his opinion?
yeah, oh yeah. There are a
Maybe
few people's opinion I respect. You're one of them, John.
does he believe in you?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because it says here the mentor provides the hero with wise advice, practical training, insight into the dilemma he faces, and even self-confidence. Does he make you feel more confident when you speak to him?
Well, you know what? Again, I've spoken to him maybe 4 times in the last 30 years. At the time, yes, that all of those things applied. And then the mentors I've had recently are in a different setting to do with spiritual growth. And those connections have been incredibly invaluable to me for, kind of life-changing connections with other men, but on a spiritual platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm, because I know I'm also on that journey, but maybe we can have multiple heroes' journeys going on at different points. Obviously, we can, because it's the same story being told again and again and again. We're just on different parts of the journey. But I want to just zero in on this particular journey you're on, because it's one that's been going on for a very long time now. And you're, because of this COVID-19, this pause, the wheels have stopped. You're not moving forward anymore in the conventional sense. And you've had a period of reflection where you have begun, you've understood you're in the ordinary world. You're in your safe place, your everyday life, and you're beginning the story again, because you have heard you've understood there's a call to adventure again, where you've received the call to action. You've received, and it has a direct threat to your safety, to your family, and to your way of life. It says here, it may not be as dramatic as a gunshot, but a phone call or a conversation, whatever the call is, however it manifests itself, it disrupts the comfort of the hero's ordinary world, presents a challenge or quest that must be undertaken. And we're on this part where you've heard the call, you've started, but you're still refusing the call. But yeah, I guess we're at this part where you need a mentor, believe it or not.
Well,
because the next part is crossing the threshold. It says the hero is now ready to act upon his call to adventure and truly begin his quest, whether it be physical, spiritual, emotional. He may go willingly or he may be pushed, but either way, hopefully it's like mentor can be plural, because maybe I'm part of that right now. And
yes, definitely.
but either way, he finally crosses the threshold between the world he's familiar with and that which he is not. It may be leaving home for the first time in his life, or just doing something he has always been scared to do. However the threshold presents itself, this action signifies the hero's commitment to his journey on whatever may have in store for him.
Right, which is where I'm at right now. I mean, throwing myself over, I am crossing the threshold. When I go out to that little tiny box in my garden, it's exciting, it's terrifying, it's me. So you know what? Yeah, I have a mentor now, and it's me, finally. I'm able to mentor myself. And I mean that in a really humble way. I can see that you're getting ready for a comment, but do you know,
Yeah,
I can
it's
parent
you.
myself now.
Do you know
It's
what?
been a long walk.
Yeah, you got it right there, because it is a period of self-reflection. You have the answers. If you have most of the answers already. Yeah, so you're
Uh-huh.
crossing the threshold as we speak.
Yes, I am. I'm on it, and
So
I
am
can
I.
feel it.
And I
Yeah, you
bet
are.
you,
You
I
are.
bet you, I mean, my own Irish uncle used to say this. I bet you a pound to a pinch of shit. I bet you a pound to a pinch of shit. Million upon million other people out there are going through this journey right now, and they're either they're crossing the threshold, or they're at the precipice, or the brink of crossing the threshold.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, John, and we talked about it in the other podcast. So the whole world is at this at the gates, and quite a lot of us are pushing them open and starting to walk over the threshold, and to find, oh, I don't know how you can organize millions and millions of people to cross the threshold in a good, connected way. But I
Do you know?
believe it's possible.
Do you know what I think is more important? That you cross the threshold, you and you alone.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I have to make it about me. Always about
No, but
me.
it has to be you,
Yeah, of
because
course.
you are the universe in your own way. You are your
Yeah,
world. It's
yeah,
you. It's always been about you. It will be about you today you die. You
yeah,
can't divorce yourself from that. I mean, I will go back and I'll maybe briefly go over my connection with this as well, because as I'm going along, it's like, wow, this is really interesting.
yeah,
So when you are on the journey, and I would say you've already crossed that threshold, believe it or not,
yeah.
because your next step is step 6: tests allies and enemies. Now finally out of his comfort zone, the hero is confronted with an ever more difficult series of challenges to test him in a variety of ways. Obstacles are thrown across his path, whether they be physical hurdles or people bent on thwarting his progress. The hero must overcome each challenge he is presented with on the journey towards his ultimate goal. The hero needs to find out who can be trusted and who can't. He may earn allies and meet enemies who will, each in their own way, help him prepare for the greater ordeals yet to come. This is the stage where his skills and or powers are tested, and every obstacle that he faces helps him gain a deeper insight into his character, and ultimately allow other people to identify with him even more. Obviously, this is going on about a movie script, but does any of that resonate with you?
Yes, it does. One thing has become clear, like it did during the Brexit conversation, that myself, like a lot of other people I know, went through a friend cull period because of because of people finally showing their true unbudging colours and beliefs and affiliations, which I am old enough and big enough and honest enough to disagree with. And if that's how it's going to be, then actually I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. That's really difficult. Those decisions, just saying no and then closing the door and walking away, is difficult. And it's happened again now with the virus thing. You know, I've blocked people on social media because they're just sending, oh, just really inane, stupid WhatsApp things, and jokey stuff. And it's fine in ordinary times, but actually it's not all right for me now. I want a clear space in my mind. Going back to being on news blackout, that's why I did it. I wanted to clear the rubble and the trash out of my head. And it takes time, and it takes purpose and direction and focus, to do that, to clear your mind. And I think where I'm at now, and yeah, thanks, I am crossing the threshold, and I have crossed it, and I have taken my own hand and walked by the side of myself to do it. But it's been the result of a lot of actions
And
that I
you are
didn't
being
necessarily.
tested, and you
Yeah,
you are seeing who your allies and enemies are. And
yeah,
it's quite interesting. I was just thinking there that the world, look, the world's been going through this sort of thing where it's like smash the patriarchy, smash this, but how can we smash something that is, there is male and there is female, and that I guess I was just thinking on a global sort of thing is that the father is somebody who is there to discipline and there to kind of be strict and lay down the law. These are all kind of male characteristics. And the world we're in right now is, we are being kind of, I don't know, punished, a little bit of punishment. We're being sent to our room, right, until we learn a lesson. We're being told that there's a lesson that we need to learn. We are being disciplined right now as a species on the planet. I don't care what anyone says. That's the word. It's come to me now. That's the truth as I see it. And that we have to kind of grow up and stop being such children that you can't just say anything you want and like have it under some kind of umbrella of freedom of speech just because I want to say it to you. I want to hurt you. No, we have to come together as a species and start to learn about common ground and
being interconnected.
Interconnected, that we all have a responsibility. We have that we're going through a period of growth, and you can't. We're both sides of these debates are probably in some ways as we need to come together. We need to. I don't even know why I've come on that little bit there.
No,
it's gone off the.
Well, no, it's part of crossing the threshold for everyone. The species is the virus. Yes, you're right. Government and those in power are treating us all like children. Go to your room, sit in the corner until we say you can come out again. But there is growth in that, and there is the other side of the threshold. There is change, and there is evolution, and maybe, hopefully, there is more interconnectedness and less punishment and violence and stupidity, hopefully.
Sometimes we need to be forced. I'm trying to look at it in the positive way. Forced to look at the shit to take responsibility. To say it's not okay to just send like just tons of crap to people and forwarding messages without being measured. And I think this is a huge point in history. I think everybody feels it. And okay, right, I'm going to go to the next.
Oh, blimey!
The next.
Is there one that will involve me eating my half a muffin?
Please eat away. Okay, number 7 is the approach to the inmost cave. The inmost cave may represent many things on a hero's story, such as an actual location in which lies terrible danger, or an inner conflict which up till now. So we've gone a bit global again. We're going to try and keep it personal, just for you, Tim, because I think it's important we do this.
Here we go. Look, this is really personal.
That muffin's gone into your innermost cave.
Oh, matron.
Okay. The inmost cave may represent many things in the hero's story, such as an actual location in which lies a terrible danger or an inner conflict which up till now the hero has not had to face. As the hero approaches the cave, he must make final preparations before taking that final leap into the great unknown. At the threshold to the inmost cave, the hero must once again face some of the doubts and fears that first surfaced upon his call to adventure. He may need some time to reflect upon his journey and the treacherous road ahead in order to find the courage to continue. This brief respite helps him understand the magnitude of the ordeal that awaits him and escalates into an anticipation of his ultimate test. Do you know what, as I'm thinking about this, sometimes what you're thinking about, this call, it could mean other things as well, not just art. It might mean something personal. It might mean, okay, so what does that mean to you?
Well, I'm afraid it's just all going to sound like the art road. Yeah, the approach to the innermost cave. is oh dear, the muffin's gone the wrong way. That will teach me. Showing off.
Well, I think that was meant to go down the wrong way. There's something you've come to a block.
Yeah, maybe the innermost cave.
Wow, isn't that interesting? Stop there for a second. That you, that your esophagus was kind of blocked at the approach to the innermost cave. So the muffin has actually got caught on the way down. So
it's all right. The muffin is now in the cave. It's fine. I can safely report the muffin has arrived at the cave. Yeah, it's okay. So that is a very deep, personal problem. And it's scary. So every single person. Okay, if you like, the approach to the innermost cave is, well, my own death, and that's something that I try to approach. I probably do approach it on a daily basis without knowing it, and that may give rise to my flashes of anger, my frustration, my upset with the world, with the people that I care about in my house, with myself, obviously. I don't think it's possible to necessarily vocalize realistically how that actually feels. But this is really, really useful, going through these 12 steps, interestingly, of the hero's journey, because they all apply. It's all very now, it's all very current. So
it's interesting. I just sensed there was a kind of breakthrough almost from art to your very existence.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, yes, and the innermost cave is the place that terrified me most for the longest in the cave. And I don't mean the cave, the sort of bestial, like I'm going to hedonistic cave. I've been there, the self-serving, I'm going to get whatever the hell I want. I'm going to get women, I'm going to get rock and roll, I'm going to take drugs, I'm going to be the animal. I've done that. I did that part, and it was really amazing, and I was very lucky. Again, I've had a very lucky life in a lot of ways. I really have.
Bring it, okay, that's the past. For me now, I want you to bring it up to right
threshold. Yeah, I was just about to, before you so rudely interrupted. Sorry, John, it's your show, I know. Leave it alone, Timmy. Leave it. Stop it. Okay,
it's fine, your show. You are the star of this show.
It's ours. Yeah, so the approach to the innermost cave is, well, what I've been forced to go through now with lockdown, and with the introspection of, so what am I doing? Okay, what was I doing? I was running around avoiding the call to adventure, and then refusing the call because I was throwing up all of the denial. Oh yeah, but I have to do this, I have to do that, I must do this, I must do that. When actually, in actual fact, I must do what I'm going to do now, which is be in the innermost cave, which is where my deepest desires lie. So some of them are being creative, but some of them are about changing my life. And maybe those are the things that I'm most terrified of.
Well, I'm just looking at the verbs that are being used in the approach to the inmost cave. Okay, it's an actual location. Terrible danger, inner conflict, final preparations, final leap. Yeah, call to adventure. I don't know what I'm trying to do here.
Shit.
As I said that, it just said your internet connection is unstable. Tim,
but
I'm losing you.
What, your internet connection?
Yeah, no, my internet.
No, you're not.
I swear to God.
Yours is.
No, yeah, mine is. You're going into a sort of strobe. I'm getting. interference. We've hit a block on the inmost cave. Tim, this is crazy.
Oh no, it's
no, I swear,
happened.
like, it's the truth,
Oh,
though.
God.
Look, we've asked for the truth. It's coming. There's no point in going any further.
Oh no, come on. I want to hear the rest of them. What's number 8? Come on, don't leave me like that. That's
no, but this is because, listen, this is happening for a reason.
Maybe.
Yeah, it is, because you're making final preparations before taking the great leap into the unknown.
Yeah, that does feel like where I'm at, actually, and I think you probably feel like that a bit as well, don't you, at the moment?
Yeah,
I think a lot of
I'll
people.
be honest with you. I'll tell you what's helping me is that I found faith. Believe it or not, I never would have thought I would become a believer in God, but I have, and I've had to. I mean, I had a, and yeah, I mean, that's a story for another day. That's a story for another day. But yeah, okay. So the approach to the inmost cave. Next comes the ordeal.
Oh,
so the supreme ordeal may be a dangerous physical test or a deep inner crisis that the hero must face in order to survive and for the world in which the hero lives to continue to exist. Whether it be facing his greatest fear or his most deadly foe, the hero must draw upon all of his skills and his experience gathered upon the path to the inmost cave, which is, I guess, is where you're at the moment. You're on this path. In order to overcome, God, I could just thought it is every movie script, The Wizard of Oz. I just think, in order to overcome his most difficult challenge, only through some form of death can the hero be reborn, experiencing a metaphorical resurrection that somehow grants him greater power or insight necessary in order to fulfill his destiny or reach his journey's end. This is the high point of the hero's story, and where everything he holds dear is put on the line. If he fails, he will either die or life as he knows it will never be the same again. I'm being honest with you. As I'm going through this, I'm seeing my life. I'm at this moment. I'm so right here. So maybe it's humanity. We know it, although you wouldn't know it walking down the street. But
no, this is fascinating. The supreme ordeal. I've got to be honest. I've never had to do the supreme ordeal, and I think it's one of the facts of my existence, because it has approached me at times through my life, and I've kind of busked my way through it. Or
have you? I know, I disagree with that.
Also,
You've already. It says only through some form of death can the hero reborn. You talked about going through finding recovery. I
have.
So you've gone through a death already and been reborn.
And I did nearly die at the end of that first part of my life, and and I have been reborn, and I have got faith, and it's just because I'm me. I don't align myself with any kind of organized deity or single deity or religion, because I just don't. It doesn't feel comfortable, and I don't like labels. So I don't say to people that I'm an atheist, because I don't want to annoy people who have faith, like yourself.
Man, look, I'm not offended, but I always find that there's that for everything that's incredibly true for somebody, there's the dualistic side. So you say I don't like labels, but in another way, you may like labels somewhere else. It's just
I like labeling others. Yeah, love it all day long. Look at that wanker! Hey, you.
Or even you dress pretty well. You like your labels.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You got a certain kind of look, and it's all. Anyway, so it's interesting. Some form of death that the hero can be reborn.
Right.
So it's a really important. It's a really important. This is so important to understand that death should not be feared. It's actually there is a rebirth on the other side of it. But we're so afraid because who we think we are. It's almost like going all the way back to the ordinary world, where everything is safe, where his everyday life takes place.
It's the
almost the ignorance of not knowing.
Yes, it's the end of the Matrix when he's plugged in the machine world and he has his final duel with Smith, and the machines enable him to remove Smith, the faulty program, and then Neo's gone, and the Matrix is remade exactly as
But
it was.
the funny thing is that almost that our life becomes Groundhog Day if we do not, if we kind of turn back any of those 8 steps. Like
Yeah,
if we turn back from the ordeal,
yeah.
we're just going back to sleep, and then we only end up waking up and we're back to ordinary world again.
Right, and you have to start again, snakes and ladders. And actually, you're right. The whole world is at number 8. The whole world is now at the supreme ordeal. We know it. Everyone knows it. Even Trump knows it. Or does he? Sorry, mention the T word. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay, so the next part is step number 9. The reward, which is seizing the sword after defeating the enemy, because we will defeat the enemy, surviving
What's it
death.
called again? What's number 8?
Number 8 is ordeal.
Ordeal. Oh, the ordeal.
The supreme ordeal, maybe a
and number
dangerous
9.
physical test. So we're definitely, I mean, personally, yeah, basically, do you know, it's kind of funny. All of these steps are being fought on a timeline at all times. So
Yeah.
reward, seizing the sword after defeating the enemy, surviving death, and finally overcoming his greatest personal challenge. The hero is ultimately transformed into a new state, emerging from battle as a stronger person and often with a prize. The reward may come in many forms: an object of great importance or power, a secret, greater knowledge or insight, or even reconciliation with a loved one or ally. Whatever the treasure, which may well facilitate his return to the ordinary world, the hero must quickly put celebrations aside and prepare for the last leg of his journey.
Interesting. So the reward and the change is not, it's really interesting, this list, because it's not really anything material. It's much more to do with the inner growth, the inner construct, the reward, the emotional and the spiritual reward of the change, of the battle, of the ordeal, of the whole process. And you're right, you can't, if you say no to any of these steps, you just straight back down the board to
Which is
ordinary
why
world.
we both, in many respects, meeting the mentor is pivotal.
I have the mentor. I have met that mentor.
We have mentors. Maybe
There
the
are many.
mentors are always there, or maybe they
Yeah.
just appear when the
Well,
time is right.
anyone can become a mentor.
I
you know,
am
it's quite.
definitely finding. I swear to God, my mentors are appearing around me as even yeah, spiritually, my mentors are appearing around me. I recognize that, and doesn't mean that I don't continue to turn back, but I too am on this hero's journey, because
Just being
actually
aware.
it does look at like steps 1 to 8 are uphill.
Yeah.
8 seems to be the peak, and then from step 9 down, it's like a downhill journey. It's quite easy after that. So we're
Well,
not far away.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. So reward. Okay. We've done 9.
Seizing
Seizing the
the
sword.
sword.
Okay. 10. The road back. So this is
Ooh.
actually, we can future pace and sort of get quite excited about what's happening
Road
after.
back.
This stage in the hero's journey represents a reverse echo of the call to adventure in which the hero had to cross the first threshold. Now he must return home with his reward, but this time the anticipation of danger is replaced with that of acclaim and perhaps vindication, absolution, or even exoneration. But the hero's journey is not yet over, and he may need one last push back into the ordinary world. The moment before the hero finally commits to the last stage of his journey may be a moment in which he must choose between his own personal objective and that of a higher cause.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm actually on step 10 at the moment, but I'm not doing it. Procrastinating. The road back, it's interesting. There is a actual correlation throughout these with those other steps. So, you know, like looking back over the day and trying to assess what needs to be made, what needs to be amended in daily behavior. I mean, just being able to do that, having the insight and awareness of self, it's such a gift. Fucking hell, it really is. It's such a relief. And it's what I was saying, you know, about being my own mentor. I think is probably, yeah, okay. I'm very open and aware when I meet other people, and I can detect whether they're going to be helpful in that kind of role or that sort of setting, and then I can turn them into a mentor. Anything, you know.
And maybe sometimes your thoughts can kind of blind you. They can bring you down. They can almost curse you, but also they can bring blessings as well. Maybe this conversation tonight is a result of a kind of call to prayer at some point. I'm not going to try and make it religious. I know I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to like get clash or blah blah blah. But I'm talking like they're talking.
We won't clash.
Exactly. So it's your prayer has been answered in some ways. That maybe in some way I'm a form of a spiritual archetype that is coming through me in some way to guide you back onto the road to complete the journey. So the road back, the hero's journey is not yet over. One last push. You said that you're procrastinating, so tell me what that means to you then. Because the road back, do you want me to explain it one more time?
No, it's fine. It sounds exciting, actually. If I think to the kind of classic, you know, Hollywood script version of it, yeah, it's the end, that after the carnage and the battle and the battlefield and the, you know, lost money, lost riches, women, love, the whole thing, and then the redemption and the return home, the triumphant hero coming back emptied of all of the angst and the pain of the early stages of the journey, you know. And it makes me think about that amazing book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, which I have recommended people in the program who I help read after a certain step, after step 5, because
that's quite interesting, because we did start the conversation, but we had a little bit of a chuckle about that. You said you're the most unread person. Did you say in Britain?
Yeah.
You couldn't have said that. Okay. Well, and I said, well, look, tell me a book that everyone should read, but you couldn't think of one. But actually, we've come to this step, this along the road, and it's called the road back. The 10 is the road back, where you know it's a book that you feel it's full of, it has wisdom in it, which is why you would suggest it.
Extreme wisdom in it. It's a beautiful book, and it's a very important book.
And a book of its own journey.
Yeah. So it's just one man's journey from boy to death, and but it's beautifully constructed, and yeah, it had a massive effect on me, and it it made, I don't know, it just changed the direction of thought in my head about a lot of things.
It's not Siddhartha itself a book that you could apply the same framework to it?
It's a hero's journey.
It is the hero's journey, isn't it?
It is a hero's journey, totally. Because it's all in there. It really is. It's a beautiful book. So that's my book recommendation for the podcast, Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
I almost want to say I'll put it in the description below, but then I'll probably procrastinate and be too lazy to put it in there. Okay, I'm just being honest. Right, now the next step is step 11, resurrection. It says.
Ooh.
This is the climax in which the hero must have his final and most. Oh my God! I thought it was over.
It's not. Me too.
This is the climax in which the hero must have his final and most dangerous encounter with death. The final battle also represents something far greater than the hero's own existence, with its outcome having far-reaching consequences to his ordinary world and the lives of those he left behind. If he fails, others will suffer. This not only places more weight upon his shoulders, but in a movie, it grips the audience so they too feel part of the conflict and share the hero's hopes, fears, and trepidation. Ultimately, the hero will succeed, destroy his enemy, and emerge from the battle cleansed and reborn. Right, I thought there'd already been a fight.
Yeah, no.
And you won.
Okay.
Obviously, you have to. Yeah, there is another battle.
You can keep 11. It's fine. I'm all right not doing 11 if that's okay. I've got that far. I've done really well so far, and I can't right now in my life.
Okay, look, I'll tell you what. Let's just. So we're all on this journey, multiple times in our life with different things. But here's the thing: if we can cross, so if we're able to honor the call, find the mentor, cross the threshold, overcome the test allies and enemies, not only approach the innermost cave, but enter it, survive the ordeal and come out the other side, seize the sword, take the road back, through and have this resurrection of self, the true self, the new self. Then at step 12, this is something to really look forward to. Do you know what we come home with? We return with the elixir.
Wow. Now that okay. I want.
Now, this is the final stage of the hero's journey in which he returns home to his ordinary world, a changed man. He will have grown as a person, learned many things, faced many terrible dangers, even death, but now looks forward to the start of a new life. His return may bring fresh hope to those he left behind, a direct solution to their problems, or perhaps a new perspective for everyone to consider. The final reward that he obtains may be literal or metaphorical. It could be a cause for celebration, self-realization, or an end to strife. But whatever it is, it represents three things: change, success, and proof of his journey. The return home also signals the need for resolution, for the stories are the key players. The hero's doubters will be ostracized, his enemies punished, and his allies rewarded. Ultimately, the hero will return to where he started, but things will clearly never be the same again.
Wow. So yeah, again, it has that's
clearly
will never be the same. Well, I feel quite I'm quite sort of chilled out now, and compared to how I normally am. But for me to listen to those 12 steps of the hero's journey is fascinating, and the last one does sort of have a chimes with me in terms of the step 12 of recovery, and to practice those principles in all my affairs and to carry the message. In order for me to carry the message and really affect people in a good way with it, I have to have done all of the steps before. I have to have been living the program honestly inside myself, and which has involved all of these other steps, the hero's journey, and really the really big one is approaching the innermost cave. You have to do it. You have to do it if you want, if I want a great dialogue with myself, if I want to be able to mentor myself, if I want to be brave, if I want to stand up to the world and say no, just to be able to say no at the right moment. It's about facing that
fear. Yeah.
It is. The fear of saying no. I mean, this is a massive thing for somebody with
or the fear of what's inside the cave.
The fear of what's inside the cave, and the cave is kind of bottomless. There's no back door to the cave.
Well, what is the worst thing that can happen in the cave?
Well, I suppose I could lose my mind in the cave, but
or you could die. It's
or
death.
I could die.
It's death.
Yeah, yeah, it's death again. Of course it is. It always is, and it's always there. But I think one of the things that I really want to get from the rest of my time on this planet is to be absolutely and totally all right with my own death, because it is the ultimate natural part of the next part of my whatever my next part is. Everything dies. Everything dies and is reborn. And there is resurrection. As a non-Christian, I could say that. I know it. Look, the carbon atoms in that hand are a few billion years old.
Just think of fungi. Do you know what was interesting? I was reading an article today because I'm trying to develop two projects at the same time. This sort of I'm reviving the whole crypto thing, but
Mhm.
trying to tackle it in a way that it doesn't devour me.
Right.
That I'm trying to, because I can see maybe. Anyway, long story short, I was looking for writers, content creators I had a sort of semi-successful website. I say that I was basically just rehashing pretty generic articles on cryptocurrency, but I was getting quite a lot of views for it at the time. Like, if you look on my website, most of the articles have anywhere between 100 to thousands of views, thousands and thousands of views. So
Great.
it was pretty good, but I grew disillusioned with it because I guess it wasn't coming from a true place. It was just, I knew deep down that all I was doing was just, I guess it was just like copying other people's work. It was plagiarizing other
Yeah.
people's work and just, but then again, I language that in my mind as well. To be honest, news is news and everyone's got to find their source from somewhere. And I remember that a friend of mine who was a journalist, I said to him, it was for a small newspaper, a local newspaper in Ireland, how do you find your stories? And he says, on the internet. So everyone's kind of copying from each other, it seems.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was an article on how Bitcoin um, was a product of nature, just like fungal systems are completely decentralized, but they are interconnected in a way, and they are a kind of intelligence of their own, and they just spread. And you can cut off part of the fungi, but it doesn't kill off the entirety of the organic
Mm.
structure, and that the whole world is fungus. That when
Yeah.
you die, it's fungus that kind of begins to sort of work, and then we become part of the fungus. I always thought like you look at when we were taking mushrooms, we were able to kind of see other dimensions of existence. That
Yeah.
maybe it was because we were reconnecting with a kind of source energy of some kind that was different
Yes.
from other drugs.
No, I totally agree. LSD as well. I was lucky enough to have nice, clean LSD, and oh, it's so strange when it's the end of the trip where everything made sense and everything had a feeling to it. And if I closed my eyes, there was a kind of pure geometry to the internal, the back of my eyelids. And I just remember the end of the trip was it just kind of disappeared like smoke, and then you just left bereft because the meaning of life and the universe was there. It was just okay. This is it, and
Oh, that's quite
nothing.
interesting because isn't interesting that uh, the trip is the hero's journey.
Yeah, yeah.
In a night, you go through the hero's journey.
I have done that. Yeah, I think yeah, and it's terrifying before it comes up. You don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. I waited a long time to take acid. The guys that I was in the band with, they were taking, when we were up north, they were taking really crap acid, white lightning and window pane and stuff like that. When we came to London, somebody was sending acid from California to the, shouldn't say really, but the gay bikers on Acid House in Tooting. And and I was being given sheets of it to sell, and oh, it was amazing. It really was. That was my summer of love, 1988, in South London. It was great. Everyone that bought that from me wanted more, and it was yeah. I think it was probably what ecstasy was supposed to feel like, but it didn't. It just felt, it made your body feel like, you know, when you lick a battery,
Mm.
that kind of tingly, your whole body would feel like that for like 6 hours. It was like,
Mm.
oh my God, this is so good. Euphoric recall. But I think there are, yeah, doors of perception, you know, with certain substances, they have been important. And who
Very,
knows?
it's quite interesting that. So that's a kind of a controlled, but very much uncontrolled in some ways, a controlled way to do the hero's journey in a short space of time,
Mm,
as a result of a change of consciousness.
hmm
The agent being um, uh, Amarita muscaria or whatever it is, or magic mushrooms, peyote,
mm.
LSD. But I think everybody, we touched on it earlier, right now, we're undergoing, this is a change of consciousness right now.
It is.
And I see it very much, it's everywhere, Tim. Even me putting this, I've just got this cold light shining down on me. I wanted the blank background. It's 2020 vision. Everything is becoming clear, or at least we're seeking the clarity. We want to know the real deal. We want to know what's it all about.
Mm.
And okay, so final thoughts. What? Just give me your final thoughts on what you feel you've learned today, or what you're going to take from this. Can I very quickly, before you say anything?
Yeah.
I've learned a lot just listening to you, and by speaking it aloud, I realize I'm on this journey too. I realize that, yeah, that we're all. I am personally at the ordeal stage where I must enter the cave to slay the dragon,
Mm.
or to fight the fight, or to just go in, to leave the old world behind, to leave that what is comfortable, and move beyond, on my own.
But you're doing it, John. I mean, what I've
I
learned,
am, I am, but I can actually very clearly see right now that I must move forward. I must, and complete the journey.
well, that's one of the things that has become apparent. I think
The
it's
big journey, the real one, that one that really counts, the really important one in one's life. Yeah.
but okay, but you are, I am. The really important one that counts in one's life is one's life. It's the entire stretch. So what I've learned today is that I am a hero on a journey, and so are you.
Mm.
And I would think that if I just walk out of my front door and go down the road and knock on somebody's door, and if they don't sort of look at me like I'm really weird and wait a minute, 2 meters, and then you can talk, that would happen. And then I could just go, look, I've written these down. They'll be in reverse. I can just start reading these off and find out that they would say, oh, yeah, I've had a call to adventure. Yeah, well, when I met my missus and, you know, when I became a copper, that was a call to adventure. I just thought, yeah, I want to do something right and proper. And
Mm.
it doesn't matter what the outcome was. It's the call. And then, you
Aren't
know,
all great men those who follow through on the journey, though? The ones who say, like Nelson Mandela coming out of prison and saying, I'm not going to commit violence anymore.
mm,
I'm not going to hate. I'm going to lose that hatred out of my heart for peace.
yeah,
Taking that going through the ordeal, it's the
massive
most.
ordeal for him.
It's the key moment. These actually they're pivotal points along that journey. I've learned a lot myself. I'm really glad we went through it. It was almost like it was meant to happen. We've been on a trip ourselves tonight. We've been on a
Yeah,
trip
it's
of
been good.
we have. We've been on
It's
a
been
trip.
good. I mean, this is great. I'm going to look into the hero's journey more. I'd like to. I'll talk to you afterwards about what you're reading from and stuff. But it's fascinating, and I think it just every single person on this planet has a story, and it's important. I've said this a few times before. Many of those stories will not ever be heard by anyone, and that is a terrible
Hmm.
waste of, because it's all we have. So in order to understand the hero's journey, you have to hear it from a hero, and that those people become mentors, the ones who tell their stories and tell them well and truthfully.
Very,
You
very interestingly, before this
know.
conversation, because I've been looking for these writers. So I looked in different places. I was looking to get it on the cheap, first of all. So I was looking at through an app called Fiverr.
Is that what it costs?
That's how much it costs. Actually, I was looking for like an article, 500 words for $5.
Well, amazing.
But I looked at some of the work, and it had no depth. There was no energy there. There was no soul. It was quite clearly just copied from somewhere
Mm.
else. And I was reading up. I'll tell you a great app I've just rediscovered is Medium, which is all kinds of articles from people across the world. Again, many voices, many people who've written that. And then I was looking at the body of work of some of these people, and there are articles that they've written 2 years ago that have just, nobody's going to ever hear from them again. But
Yeah.
they're worthy of being recycled. They're so worthy of it. And one of the articles was on how learning how to write is actually a superpower. That learning, everyone should learn it. And it was on the blog of I don't know how I fell upon it. The three best skills to learn in 2020, and they're all the things that I'm doing right now: blogging, podcasting, and creating an online business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm actually
You're ahead
I'm
of the
right
game, buddy.
well, I'm surfing the wave, and I hit I caught the crest of the wave, and it's writing is a superpower. And I guess he said learning how to craft a story and understanding how to write a story is an integral part of being a good journalist, it's a great skill to learn. Well, what we kind of learned in this conversation was that we're all writing a story anyway,
Yeah.
but having a better idea of where we are in the story, yeah,
Is useful.
it's
Is
very
useful.
useful, isn't it?
Yeah, because and this is great. I've written this down, and I need to know where I am in my journey, and I think I am at the supreme ordeal. I really do. Yeah. I'm
Mine
not
is
on
for
the right
years
back
just
yet.
turning back from the ordeal and creating the same old story, the same old story, the
Right.
same old story.
Right. That's what I meant to say earlier. Is if you turn back from the ordeal, as you said, you're back to at stage one, and you have to do it all again. And then the curtain of denial comes down, and you just think, oh well, that's all right. I'll just crack on again. But you are going to approach the ordeal again, and you are going to have to do it or turn back
And
again.
you know me, how many mentors have I had?
Oh
At
well,
least in recovery. I mean, I'm talking.
you had a few when I was your mentor.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I guess I wanted to, yeah, I'm just searching for the truth. I think I've found it, but it requires me being truthful. I need to be truthful and honest. I've actually become very dishonest. I became very dishonest without knowing it, and yeah, I guess
But
anyway.
that's just all born out of fear, isn't it? The fear of having a mentor and giving them all of your secrets is a terrifying idea, concept. Because even outside of the recovery setting, if you're going to have a real connection that is really fruitful with a mentor, basically they have to know everything about you.
Mm.
If you're going to become a brilliant guitarist or a writer, yeah, probably better if we're talking about writing, because that's the thing, that's your passion, I think. English and writing and the written word and reading. And so that person would need to know every single thing about you if they were going to really help you to become a great writer.
I think
You know,
my journey right now is a spiritual one, and it's to actually to move beyond what I worry or think other people think, and
Right.
to step
Yeah.
out into faith
Yeah.
and to slay. I mean, at least in you look at in Christianity, the dragon to slay that you're having a fight with is Satan. It's like
Mm.
it's the anything that is not of faith. It's fear. Like you could say it's fear, but they call it Satan. Satan
Yeah.
is the evil one. It's the wicked one. It's the one who tells you all the lies. The one who makes you doubt yourself. The one who says you're not good enough. The one who says you'll never amount to nothing.
Yeah.
And that faith gives you the courage to say, no, I don't listen to that. I stand for something higher. I stand for truth. I stand for a belief in a belief in God. I believe in the Most High. That
Mm-hmm.
that you must bow to that, and not me bow to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you were born of God too, and yeah, I guess I'm just in that point, and I would never have believed it either. I would never have believed, like, of all the stories that I would take into my heart, it would be the Christian one or Jesus, because it was always the one that I had the most problems with. But
Mm-hmm.
not as a child. I didn't have a problem with it as a child, but I had a problem with it just on an intellectual level as I got older. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not even. It's just
It
about
doesn't matter,
it's
John.
about accepting that into one's heart and just seeing what happens with it. I got to a place of desperation maybe a week or two ago where I just thought, do you know what? If you're out there and if you're real, much the same as that kind of most people when they move into recovery,
Mm-hmm.
just make yourself known. Make yourself known, and I will follow you if you're real, if you're out there. And since that has happened, I'm having synchronicity after synchronicity. Even this conversation, the synchronicities are happening. I didn't want to stop you too many times, but it's like, wow, and the synchronicity. It's like, I'll tell you, the greatest synchronicity is just in that moment. It's just like, wow, boom, it happens. It must be getting closer. These breakthrough moments, because the echoes are getting shorter and shorter between
Yeah.
what is happening and what had just happened before that, in order to make me see that that was a synchronicity.
Memory from the future.
Deja, yeah,
I
deja vu.
saw my friend today. Well, yeah, Kamal. I think it's more to do with. I'll read more about it, but quantum time theory fascinates me. All quantum physics I find fascinating, and remembering that Einstein said that he just wanted to find out what God was up to. That's all his work was about. So, what the quantum time theory says is that there is no past, present, or future. There is just one massive moment that is happening continuously. And when you get deja vu, it's a memory coming from the
Wow.
future.
Oh my God. Yeah,
So I like that.
yeah. So I'm just saying, these echoes have always been there. They've always been there since I was a young boy, saying, one day, John, you're going to have to stand up. Eventually, you're going to have to walk forward, and you're going to have a great test in your life, a great test.
Yeah.
And also, when I was young, it was almost always these end of world scenarios where I'd be helping people across like a great ravine, or leading people through who had little to no faith
Mm-hmm.
through somewhere through the cave, the inmost cave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ordeal. And that's where I feel like I'm at now. Like I'm about to be asked. I'm being asked to step right up at a moment where I'm going to be needed.
Into the light.
Yeah, where the world needs people who are going to step up
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
a higher ideal.
Purpose. Yeah.
And the result of me turning back from that would mean death.
Hopefully not, but yes, some kind of death, some kind of inner death. But you know it now, and you've said it, and it's going to be broadcast. So you're going to have to do it now, dear boy. I'll hold you to it. I mean, I feel the same. I feel as though I'm being push towards finally my higher purpose. If it's art, fine. If it may be something else. And what I found in my life is the thing I think I'm going to be doing, it's not that thing. It's the thing behind it that I can't see, but I have to do the thing that I think I have to do to get around that thing to do the actual thing, you know, like getting clean, and then finding out that my purpose is completely, totally different to the self-serving, selfish kind of outlook that I was in, or the in look that I was in, you know.
It's quite interesting as well, the things that I, since this all started, and I've been working, so in many ways my life has kind of carried on being the same, but
Mm.
it hasn't, because I've been doing this in the evenings. I've become much more militant around keeping things clean. You say getting clean, it's also keeping clean, keeping things clean, and keeping my environment clean. Jordan Peterson talks about one of the first rules in his 12 rules of life is tidy your room. Yeah. So, and
He's a
I
proper
found that by
dad, though,
keeping a
isn't he?
tidy, it's a representation. My internal environment, the first place it becomes externalized is in my immediate environment, the place that I can control, which is my living quarters.
Yeah, it's true. It's a total reflection of, you know what, years ago, I was going to do a photographic project, and I still will do it one day. And it's just this, I'd find 100 random people across the UK, stick drawing pins in a map,
Yeah.
call them up and ask them if I could come round, and all I want you to do is open your garage door and let me take a picture of your garage. So it's the garage that's the most revealing of all. When you look, you walk past people's houses and the garage door is up, and there's a skip's been emptied in there,
Yeah.
or really regimented tools, or a beautiful clean car, or something totally unexpected. It's weird. It's a
It's true.
space that,
It's a treasure
you know,
trove, but it's also the place
the
where your
unconscious.
stuff has its last chance to kind of cling on and stay
There you
within
go.
your kind of psyche.
There you go. So it's a really important space. It really, really tells you about the person in the
Sheds
house.
or sheds is another place.
I know my family keep on telling me that my studio is the shed in the garden. It's not. It's a
It's cleaned
lovely.
out now.
It's lovely. It's such a
Yeah.
great space. And the sofa bed is coming on Monday, and that means I live in there from Tuesday onwards. I might. I'm going to sleep out there. I'm definitely going to sleep in it and terrify the shit out of myself with the fox jumping on the roof in the middle of the night. But yeah, it's those things are important. You know what it is? It's the ants that will get you, not the elephants. And if you reverse that, you know, it's the tiny little actions that you do throughout a day that equal like a balance and a goodness and a clean mind and spirit.
One more thing. I keep going to one more thing. I sound like
You do.
Columbo. Um, just one more thing.
Yeah, man.
I also, believe it or not, I've signed up to a personal trainer's course. Yeah, level 2 and level 3 with a friend of mine who I'm going to actually be more of a mentor to him. He's going to mentor me. He's a physically fit guy, but I know he has problems with the you know, the book reading and the, you know, taking
Yeah.
in information. I don't, academically he never he had some issues. Not that I didn't, but probably less than he did.
Yeah.
But the first lesson on so you're thinking personal trainers, they're just these kind of testosterone filled dumb kind of gym monkeys who haven't got two
Is that a
brain
thing?
cells.
Gym monkey? Is that a thing?
Gym junkies.
Or gym junkies? More realistic, yeah.
But the first lesson I've been asked to learn in being a personal trainer or a physical fitness coach, that's another way of getting clean as well, is the skeletal system, the muscular system, and how it relates to your posture,
Mm-hmm.
and how people, you know, your spine and all these,
Right.
how you hang yourself and how
For
you
sure.
walk. Yeah, that it actually, true fitness is not about it's not just about nutrition, it's not just about exercising regularly, it's also about your skeletal structure, your joints and how they function. It's about how kind of, and think about how that has an effect on how you think. And, you know.
Yeah. So, and then when you really go into it, it's about how you position yourself on the surface of the planet and how aware you are of gravity and, you know, up and down and all of the muscles and all parts of your body, parts we don't even know about. I don't know all the muscles in my body or every single bone I've got, you know, but the core fitness thing, yeah, it's not about being pumped up and muscled. I don't think. I mean, I do my exercise every day. I did another 17-mile bike ride today. Okay, it was on my electric bike, but still, it's a workout. And I think I'm quite fit for 56 years old.
No, you are. No, you're in good shape.
I keep on thinking somebody was walking in the room. No, I feel all right. I feel good. I sleep well, and you know, I was just going to say, going back to the hero's journey, you've got to remember as well that it is possible to do all of those things in one day. All of those things can present themselves to you in one day. Every single ordinary world, waking up, call to adventure, get up, think about what you're going to do, refusal of the call, okay, I don't want to go to work, meeting the mentor, go to work, the guy you're working with, whatever, crossing the threshold, you have a row at work, you know, there's a challenge.
Crossing the threshold is going onto the job, going into the job.
Well, yeah, it's the change from being a human being to being a bloody labouring scumbag. Let's face it. You know, Marx talks about it, doesn't he? The alienation created by the, you know, proletariat being proletariat. But yeah, I think you can go through all of that in one day, and I'm looking forward to. I've got to be honest. I'm looking forward to returning with the elixir. Say it like this.
Elixir. It's definitely thought provoking. It really is.
Right, John.
Yeah, I think
exhausted.
we're exhausted. We've exhausted all avenues, but I think we have had our own hero's journey here tonight. Tim S., I want to thank you for coming on to the podcast. It's been an absolute privilege and pleasure to spend time with you tonight. We went on a journey together. We did. And I don't know about you, but I feel pretty heroic.
Yeah, but you always do. And you keep on telling me how heroic you are. One of the things I really love about you, because it just makes me feel like my heroicism is justified. And now we know we're both heroes. We are. There are loads and loads of heroes out there. I live with a bunch of them.
That's why I set up the channel. I think everyone is a hero. Everyone is extraordinary. Everyone has a story. Everyone's on a journey. Do you know what?